Hey everyone, it's Stephanie and welcome back to my channel. So, new year. I've decided to just declare bankruptcy on 2022 and just start over on my recent reads. It was a rough year last year and we'll just leave it at that. So, these are my most recent reads, numbers 1 through 10. Let's just jump right in. So, number 1 was a reread, and that was Clockwork Angel by Cassandra Clare. This is book 1 in the Infernal Devices series. This is probably my favorite of her series, even though she's just a good time. Like, let's just be honest. Her writing, her characters, it's just so fun. And it's like brain candy. So I gave this one 5 out of 5 stars. I really hold a lot of nostalgia for it. It's one of the series that I read when I was really starting to get into fantasy, and it did not disappoint me. Next, I read The Galaxy and the Ground Within by Becky Chambers. This is the 4th and final book in the Wayfarer series, and I was really, really sad to reach the end of it. I really have a fondness for Becky Chambers and her writing. All of her books that I've read have been cozy and heartwarming, and the characters have just been really endearing. They're definitely character driven, and I love just spending time in these different places in the galaxy with these characters. So this one definitely did not disappoint. I definitely cried. There were tears. It was such a satisfying and lovely ending to the series, and I'm definitely looking forward to rereading these in the future. And number 3 is Clockwork Prince by Cassandra Clare. This is book 2 in the Infernal Devices series. Once again, a reread, 5 out of 5 stars, top tier, love triangle, romance. Love it. Number 4 is Under the Greenwood Tree by Thomas Hardy. This is blurbed as one of his most popular novels, and it says it's a delightful and humorous depiction of life in an early Victorian rural community. Just being honest, I read this in January. Do not remember a thing about it except for the main character is named Fancy Day, and I found it very underwhelming. Like, I enjoyed his writing style and I enjoyed the story as I was reading it, but it wasn't memorable and nothing stuck out compared to other works of his that I read, like Tess of the D'Urbervilles and The Mayor of Casterbridge, where elements of those books have really stuck with me over time, and this one just wasn't my favorite. It's not bad, just very forgettable. So next I read Ethan Frome and Selected Short Stories by Edith Wharton. And once again, I think maybe I just picked these up at the wrong time, but I feel like this one was also very forgettable. I enjoyed my time reading it, and it was a very tragic love story, the Ethan Frome story, but I don't remember that much of it, and honestly, if you ask me, couldn't tell you what it's about. So very middle of the road, but I would reread it again. Next, I read The Secret of the Mansion, which is book number 1 in the Trixie Belden series by Julie Campbell. I read this with Tiffany from Beautiful Minutia and Joanna as part of a Trixie Belden versus Nancy Drew weekend in January, and it was so much fun. This one was definitely very interesting to read as an adult. This was just really fun. I thought Trixie was a really fun main character, and most of this book I was going, where are the parents? Like, what is going on? And some of it was a little unbelievable, but the story was just so much fun. And there were so many like humorous things that happened that it really made up for that. So I'm definitely planning on continuing on with the series. It was a really good time. And I also read The Secret of the Old Clock by Nancy Drew. I have lost count of how many times I have read this book. Nancy Drew is just one of those that it's really what got me into reading, and I love Nancy. I have a very nostalgic place in my heart for the series. This is not the best Nancy Drew book in the series, but it was still a good time. Next, I read The Briar Crown by Helen Reig Peterson. This is such a phenomenal beginning to a series. So we follow our main character, Rosalind, and she is in this world where 25 years ago there was peace, and then one night a group of people invaded Rosalind's area and took her town, Demovnia, for their own, and have since ruled it with an iron fist and fear. And so she wants revenge, and she, through a series of circumstances, ends up being a healer for the prince, and she is snatched from her home and all that she loves, and now she has a chance to change things. As she's getting to know these people, her feelings may start to change a little bit, and I really, really loved this. I'm not doing this justice, but we've got romance, we've got cool world building, we have a really interesting magic, and there are so many great scenes that have really just stuck with me. And I read this in January, and I still remember a significant amount of it, which I think is a testament to the writing. The writing was great. It wasn't overly flowery, but we did get really good descriptors, and I didn't have an issue visualizing what was going on in my head. And there's one scene in particular in, I think it's a dandelion field, that has just really stuck with me. It was so wonderfully written. So definitely check this out if you're looking for some really unique fantasy, and it's self-pub, so that's a bonus as well, and I cannot wait for the next book in the series. Next, I read At Night All Blood is Black by David Diop, and translated from the French by Anna Moschovakis. So this one, I think I hyped it up in my head more, and that kind of ruined it for me. So I think this won the International Booker, I believe. But we follow Alpha, who is a Singhalese man, and he is in the war and fighting. His friend, who is in the same regiment, is seriously injured in battle, and so his friend is begging Alpha to just kill him and put him out of his misery, because they don't know when they will be able to get help or any of that. So Alpha is unable to commit this mercy killing, and so because of that, he just starts becoming more and more like unsettled and mad every day, and he's starting to see his refusal to do it as cowardice, and we really are in his head, and he begins this ritual where every night he sneaks across enemy lines to find and murder a German soldier, and every night he comes back to base with the German soldier's severed hand, and things go from there. And honestly, I don't know, it just felt like I was missing something. It's definitely macabre, it's definitely got really just shocking moments, which I feel like is very accurate to the war, no matter what war. I mean, it's gonna be awful, but there was just something missing that really hooked me. I would definitely read more of this author's work because I did really enjoy his style of writing. It just wasn't super memorable other than a few things. And finally, I read Ghost Music by An Yu. So we follow Song Yan, and she lives in her Beijing apartment and has young piano students. She gave up her career as a concert pianist many years ago, and her husband Bowen is an executive of a car company, and he has continually shot down her pleas to have a child. So as the tension builds, it becomes harder for her to keep her placid demeanor, and she is constantly troubled by dreams of this doorless room that she can't escape, that's populated only by a strange orange mushroom. This was very emotional and thought-provoking. I really loved the way Anu writes, and I'm definitely looking forward to reading more of her work. But I think this is one that, you know, it reflects on motherhood and being childless, relationships, and it's just a really interesting story. So those are my 10 most recent reads. Have you read any of these? If so, please let me know down below. If you'd like to leave an emoji just to let me know you're here, drop some kind of mushroom emoji down below. As always, if you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button if you'd like. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.